Caleb, how long ago did you start Northeast Chiropractic at that location?
So at that location, we just moved to the new location about 4 years ago. But I bought the practice. It's been over 9 years ago now. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have working for?
Right now we just have 2, but we have a few other people that kind of work in the office too as well, including Jim, which most of you guys know as far as night functioners too as well. So
yeah, you have a great little community up there of people. So we're excited to hear you talk.
awesome. Thanks. So the first thing I thought I'd do is just kind of explain to you guys where I came from and my background a little bit. So I'm a small town kid from southwest Kansas. I grew up on a farm, about 20, small farm, especially now with a lot of the corporate farms that are out there that are 10, 20,000 acre farms. I know it seems like a lot, but there's a lot of those type of farms there, but it was about 2,500 acres that my dad farmed. Had cattle, had wheat, milo, which is kind of a form of sorghum. Everybody's like, what is milo? That's just a weird sounding plant, but it's what we did, and it's kind of where I grew up. I was lucky enough to go to my undergrad at Pittsburgh State University, which was, I got to go on a football scholarship and played football there, which is kind of, I'll talk a little bit about kind of why I chose chiropractic, but that had a lot to do with it. But after that, I actually took a year off and came to the Western Slope and worked as a coach and teacher over on the West Slope in a little town called Hotchkiss, Colorado. And Hotchkiss, in Hotchkiss, I got to meet the woman of my dreams. My wife was working there. She's actually from Portland, Oregon, and she just kind of took it on a whim. And she'd been there 2 years, and I met her there, and so it was meant to be. Convinced her to come back, follow me back out to Kansas City when I went to chiropractic school. Before that, I actually had to make a decision because I took the MCATs. I did all the entrance exams for DO, MD, and chiropractic school. Got accepted to all 3 as far as that goes, as far as the schools anyway. And so I had to make a decision. Why did I choose chiropractic? I had a situation, and I've been going to chiropractor since I've been in junior high. So since a pretty young age, with sports injuries, things like that, I'd go to see a chiropractor that was local there. But in college, I had a really severe, I've had 7 surgeries during my time playing football and a little bit after. So I definitely had a little bit of wear and tear. But when that happened, I do PT, I work with the athletic training staff, and specifically with an ankle injury that I had to have a plate put into my ankle. And I wasn't recovering quite like I wanted to. So I went home for the summer, and I visited the chiropractor I went to high school, when I was in high school I went to. And he actually was able to get me moving so much quicker. He'd go and adjust it, we'd do some mobility, and I'd actually get out and start running. And I couldn't do that before I started seeing him. So that was something that kind of pushed me that direction. So when I had to make the decision, I chose chiropractic. I went there for 3 years and then did my internship at the VA hospital in Kansas City. And then I had to make a decision where I wanted to go and chose Colorado Springs. It's where Colorado has a special place in our heart since I met my wife here. So we decided to come back and found a practice that I was able to buy. And thankfully, I've paid off the loan that I used to buy the practice. I did that 3 years ago, so that's really good. So pretty excited about that, and again being in practice now for over 9 years, working on my 10th. Pretty excited to continue that journey. So what do I do as far as chiropractor? What's my time-wise right now? Is it?
No, that's my time.
Okay. I know.
And I was so in goal, I did not.
It's okay. Oh, no, I get 10 more minutes. So I don't have to talk fast. This is great.
6.5, man. 6.5.
6.5. Okay. So 6.5 left.
6.5.
Okay.
Jay's got time.
So yeah. So I'm going to first talk about rock tape because I want to send this around. But I use this in my practice, and everybody goes, well, you know, what is rock tape? What is it used for? You've seen it on the Olympic athletes as far as all that colored tape that they wear. The beach volleyball players, it's pretty identifiable because they don't wear as much clothing. But even the other athletes use it too as well. So it's flexible tape. It's designed to move with you and not restrict range of motion, but it still supports you. And that's how we're starting to use this tape more than we used to use the white tape of old. If ever you guys had ankle sprains and they used to use the white tape, they just used to tighten it as tight as they could get it just so you could immobilize the joint. We don't want to do that anymore. We want that joint to move because that's how the body heals itself, is with movement. And so we can use the tape to support it while it's healing, but heal it in the right position. So I'm going to pass some of this around. I'll actually pass a couple of around here, and I want you guys to kind of feel what it feels like. I'll actually tear it a little bit, and you can feel kind of how it's moving and how it would move with you. And I'm also going to pass around, I have this nice little kind of a placard as far as what it can be used for. From swelling, we can actually tape for edema, and then also we can tape for performance, which a lot of people don't realize as far as that goes. So the tape actually works, and some of the elite athletes are now using it for performance because the muscles don't fatigue out quite as fast because the tape kind of acts as a little bit more of a support system. So people are actually using it for performance now too as well. So I'll pass that around. So along with that, with the tape, is the rock sauce. And rock sauce is designed as a really intense, if you guys have ever used BioFreeze or Icy Hot or any of those things, it's like a step up from that. If ever you guys remember Tiger Balm, does anybody ever remember that? And it's still around. It's not quite as strong as it used to be. Tiger Balm was they used to use it on horses. And so it was that intense, Tiger Balm was. This isn't quite that intense, but it still is pretty intense. So it's an analgesic that's designed to loosen muscle, but it's also designed to kind of decrease the swelling in the muscle too as well. But this is more of the hot stuff, so it's kind of increases the heat, and where the rock sauce chill is more kind of like what BioFreeze and Icy Hot feels like. It has more of a chill sensation. So we use this quite a bit on our patients too as well. Technique-wise, most of the patients that I see, I do manually adjust. So if you've ever been to a chiropractor before, yes, that's where they're using their hands to move, especially joints back into the right position and increase range of motion. So anytime we have injury, what the body does is it puts inflammation, scar tissue formation, and muscle tightening around that area. So what we want to do is not only loosen those things up and decrease inflammation, but get the joints back in the right spot so they can heal correctly and not heal with a whole bunch of scar tissue that we're dealing with later on. So I use manual adjustments, but then I also use this fun little tool here for those that are a little apprehensive about the manual adjustment too as well. So yes, my little, I swear it's not a shot or it's anything like that. That's everybody always does. Like, are you giving me a shot? No, it's not that type of deal. But what it is, the best way I can describe it in my farm boy terminology is like a little hammer. And what we're doing is we're kind of moving that bone or that joint back in the right position very gently. And so it's not like the big manual adjustment that sometimes people get. So if people are really apprehensive, we can use stuff like this to still get the job done, but not necessarily do big forceful movements. So we have tools like that. We also have tools like this for the laser, and this is a low-level laser, so it's used a specific frequency of laser that decreases inflammation and breaks up scar tissue. So it allows us, again, to help with the healing process, just kind of like the tape that I talked about. It helps with that healing process and gets people better faster. And especially when we're dealing with things like sprain strains, this is a great tool to have on hand to be able to speed up that healing process. So we use this. We also use a technique called Graston technique, which is a neuromuscular release technique. It's a really deep tissue. Usually that's one that I kind of keep back because it's a pretty intense feeling because we're digging into that soft tissue. So when I dig into soft tissue, it almost feels like gravel when there's scar tissue there. So it's not a fun experience for the patient, for sure. It's definitely an intense situation, but after I get done, usually they get up and they feel that increase in mobility. So those are some techniques that we're able to use along with the adjustment to get people better faster and allow them for them to heal correctly throughout that process too as well. What type of patient's good for me? Anybody that, as far as it's very active or athletic, anybody that is a high-performing athlete or does stuff, even just stuff on the side, those are good people to come and see me. Athletic injuries, sprained strains, those type of people, it's just, we can really help those people get better faster and get back to what they love doing quickly too as well. Along with that, anybody that's had a car accident, anybody that's had a trip and fall, those type of people really do well with chiropractic too as well, and we're able to get them back in the activity quickly. And then just your people that want wellness. Those are really good patients for us too as well. So even if they want to just come in once a month to kind of keep their body going and keep the interference free from their body, that's a good referral for us too. So I didn't leave any time for questions. I tried to talk fast, but I didn't feel talk fast enough. I know, 2 more minutes. I know, 2 more minutes, right? You guys ready? So thank you. Again, if you guys have any questions, definitely get in contact with me. We do free consultations as far as at the office, so definitely come in and see me. All right, thanks.